right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright. And today is Monday. Obviously, you were able to pull all the topics together. My son's 13th birthday was yesterday. No more under, at least, I guess, all teenagers in the house currently, which you've done a lot of that, but it's crazy.
Do you want to spend a special shout out to the boy?
No, here's what I think. I think as a male, you have to be okay with birthdays just being another day. It's hard for me as an adult when a male really wants to like celebrate his birthday. It's one thing if it's 18, 16, 21.
I mean, Brian, you've got a birthday coming up pretty soon. So you're saying
It's another day.
Plans I had for you?
It's another day, baby. Another day. Hey, all wanted some of your, well, this is going to sound really weird. I was going to say all wanted some of your pickles.
I want some of your pickles, maybe some of your meat. I mean, we can make both happen, Brian. Make both happen. All right, so big sports weekend, a lot of fun topics going on. Brian, I know March Madness happened, and we're going to get there. A kind of a monumental March Madness, but I think the biggest story of the weekend comes from the baseball world and the Torpedo Bats by the New York Yankees. I mean, the Yankees put up 20 runs and 12 runs on consecutive days, and they say that they have a new, well, they don't say that they do. They do. They have a redesigned, reimagined baseball bat where the barrel is thicker through more of the label, and it's a little tapered off at the end. It looks like a wiffle ball bat. It looks weird. But
you know what it looks like? It looks like the super bats from like the 90s that we use, those reflexes. I mean, just a humongous barrel. And I know it can't be supposedly bigger than 2 5/8 at its widest diameter, but it looks different. I mean, did you do any research or did you hear kind of how they got to this point?
I saw it was a legitimately like MIT physicist that designed it, and we were texting about it, and I was like, this can't be legal. And I'm like, well, Paul, like, there's no way the New York Yankees are just going to throw bats out there that aren't legal. It's not like you're playing a USSSA tournament here locally and they're shaving bats or rolling them. I mean, it's the New York Yankees. They're going to do their research, and clearly they are. And that's what the Yankees released a statement that said, hey, everything is sanctioned by MLB and it's passed all whatever that they need to do. But it's Did they not use these during spring training? Like, how is this not a story prior to the past couple of days?
It's really interesting that this is not how it just came to light now.
Well, when a team hits 9 home runs in a game, when they hit 3 home runs on the first 3 pitches of a game and score 20 runs, that's gonna, I think,
then it's a story.
And then score 12 runs the next day. That's gonna I don't see raise eyebrows, but get some attention for sure. But do you know why did it come to light now? And were they not using them during?
Well, no, I think you just did it. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they were using them in spring training. That's a great question. We probably should know the answer to, but I don't. And
I've looked. I can't find it.
And so I would imagine they were. And I would also say that results kind of make you start asking questions. I wonder if somebody wouldn't have brought that up. It sounded like the announcers. Like, I heard a section of the game, the announcers knew about this. So it's not like it was some kind of big secret. Because you had Belly who was using it, you had Jazz that was using it, and then you had Lopey that are using it. So there's only 3 guys. There's Aaron Judge still his mom, Goldschmidt was still doing his thing.
Yeah.
It may just be a sign that your brew crew may be in for a long year.
Woo, the Brewers were scuffling. Old Nestor Cortez came over and did not make a great first impression. Gave up 5 home runs in 2 innings. He was chasing after my record, Brian. And you know what? I think if they left him in for a couple more innings, he might have. I at least threw like 5 or 6 innings that night. I gave up 6. He threw 2. And man, what a
Hey, I got a question.
rough start.
Hey, we'll come back to the bat thing. I think it really is interesting. It obviously lowers the center of gravity. They put a lot more meat around where the label is. You essentially can hit the ball off the label and still have really good contact. But when you played guys that you had played with previously, now they're on different organizations. Did you ever have agreements where, hey, I'm throwing you first pitch fastball, or hey, you're going to get something to hit? Did you ever have those kind of relationships? I didn't play long enough of time in that environment.
No, I never. Like, I wanted to get them out. Yeah, there was no. I mean, I mentioned it before. There was kind of like a gentleman's agreement with pitchers, like, hey, we'll just throw each other fastballs away, and if we get 2 strikes, we'll try to pad our stats a little bit with something breaking. But no, never against a former team or anything. It was like, I'm going to do my best to get you out. We never had anything like that. And
got you. I was wondering if Cortez was like, hey, I'm giving you meatballs. I mean, hey, it's first game of the year. I got a lot of time to get to CRA back right. He did not look good. Or the Yankees looked really good for letting him go. And the bat thing, it's going to be interesting though. I mean, the bats essentially, we've talked about it in one of our previous episodes. Like the initial and like the M110 was based on Mickey Mantle. We looked up all the different ones. C was like Cecil Fielder, I think maybe there was different ones that were, and so essentially the bat kind of design hasn't changed a whole lot in 100 years, or at least 100 years. And so this is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's all like when you look at a bat, it's the handle is the knob, the handle, the neck of the bat, and then the barrel, and then I mean, I guess slight differences. Handles have different levels of thickness. Knobs can be a little more tapered, a little more drastic to with your lower hands on it. The neck again can get a little thinner, a little thicker, sort of thing, and then the end, you have it either regular or you can cup it out if you want to take a little weight off of it. So, I mean, those are the things, right? It's really.
Well, I think about it from a pitcher's perspective. You can get guys out and hit barrels. If you stay out, you thought about the sweet spot being like this on a bat, a couple inches, right? Maybe 3 inches. I think Maple has changed that some, and when you bring the barrel all the way down to the label, all of a sudden that's like it's better than college. It's better than metal bats, BB core bats that our kids are using in 7th and 8th grade. I mean,
maybe this is the path moving forward. Just go to this for everybody.
Well, I do think I'm convinced. I haven't hit with any pro maple, but I would say back in the day, the sand bats that I had, and I've got some pro maple. I think it's better than the BB core, but I could be wrong. I know the BB core's gotten better over the last couple of years as far as exit vetoes, but because I think what's different is with Ash, I don't know if you could have done this. Ash would have got too heavy if you had so much meat right there at the label. With Maple, you can do some different things. They air them out differently. They do some different things and can get good beef all the way up and down that barrel and not have so much weight that a guy can't swing it. So I think it's a little. I think some of this is the technology of the wood kind of meeting up with technology of, hey, you're hitting a lot off the handle. What if we just put some barrel there? And so now,
that's what they said about Volpe. He tended to hit it a little more on the label side. And to me, it's just like, oh, he's just a bad hitter. It's kind of what.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. Hey, as a pitcher, if you hit, there used to be a pretty small area. You hit off the end, pitcher win. You hit off the handle, pitcher win. The hitter had to hit in this little area. So, what do you think about that? Is it fair?
I mean, if it's within rules, yeah. I mean, it's fine, I guess. I mean, I guess you have to be fine with it. It's within rules of regulation. But again, everything is geared towards offense and hitting, and going back to the 60s when they lowered the mounds, going back, more recently where they're not allowing any sort of grip on the ball sort of thing. And again, you're not putting. I don't think guys were intentionally putting foreign substance on the ball and things like that, but just a little.
I think they may have been.
Yeah, maybe like the spider tack sort of stuff, but everything is geared towards the offense, and
it is.
And again, moving like the shift, right? The shift should have been perfectly legal within rule. It was, and like,
right. Somebody hit a ball the other way or lay down a bunt. Hey, you beat the shift.
Yeah, easy peasy, right? So,
it is from here.
I mean, I think as long as it's, And that's the thing. Like, will baseball adjust the rules to make it better for pitchers? Probably not. Probably never, right? But at the same time, like, is it fun watching a 20-9 game, watching a position player come there?
I kind of liked it.
I mean, we're sitting here
You know what
talking
it
about
felt
it, I
like? You
guess.
know what it felt like a college game. It felt like a
Yeah.
college game. I've watched a lot more college games. Obviously, they start a lot earlier. It felt like where if a pitcher, there's a lot of college guys who throw hard, or at least on the gun they throw hard, but there's a lot of college guys who don't hit spots, and that's the difference in big league pitching and college guys. A lot of times they're not, the velocity isn't that much different, but a big league guy, they're off speed and their ability to hit spots. And, there was just, and me and you talked about it last year. There's a lot of guys that throw hard now. There's not many guys that are true, just like pitchers, and like you think of them as surgeons. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think it tilts back to being able to pitch and change speeds. But I also think it's going to make it more home runs and more strikeouts. Like now, if you've got this much of an area to hit a ball off of, 6 inches, 8 inches, that changes the game completely.
Oh yeah, I might have come back and become a hitter. Jeez. All right. Well, a couple more baseball stories, real quick. Dodgers 5-0, undefeated. Never.
My Detroit Tigers 0-3.
Tigers 0-3.
Yeah, I'm taking them. I feel like
Brew Crew.
you know what they feel like? They feel like a little bit like the Wolfpack, right? Detroit Tigers and Wolfpack. I feel like there's there's something there.
The Miami Marlins 3-1, lead
Yeah.
the NL East. Let's see how long they can keep that up there. But Braves 0-3, rough start for the Bravos against the Padres on the West Coast there. So it's obviously still really, really early, but pretty interesting to see the Marlins on top of that division, especially with the Phillies, Braves, and Mets, and they're spending all that money. Brian, Final Four. We've made it to the Final Four for the second time ever. All 4 number 1 seeds are in the Final Four. Do you know the last time that it happened, Brian?
I'm gonna say 1991.
2008. 2008.
Okay, so not as long ago as I thought.
So let me put you in a little time capsule of 2008. Steph Curry led the Davidson Wildcats to the Elite 8 that year. Do you remember that run?
I do. I thought it was actually earlier.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah.
2008. This was the year it was Memphis, Kansas, UNC, and UCLA were all number 1 seeds and all made it. So that was the Tyler Hansborough UNC team, the Derrick Rose Memphis team. And those were the wins by Memphis, where they had a great year, but all of their wins were vacated due to Derrick Rose eligibility questions. Oh, yeah. And then the 2008 UCLA Bruins, Kevin Love, Darren Collison, and Russell Westbrook on the team. So 3 like legit, real good NBA players on that team. So they were doing okay for themselves. But the Kansas Jayhawks ended up winning that 2008 championship. They beat Memphis in overtime. Mario Chalmers hit that big 3 at the end with like 2 seconds to go. They call it Mario's Miracle now, I guess, in Lawrence. And big.
Like they should.
And then Chalmers actually went on to have a pretty good NBA career. Was part of the
very solid with the Heat. It became very much Yeah,
absolutely. So this year it is the Duke Blue Devils, Houston Cougars, Auburn Tigers, and of course the Florida Gators chomping their way. So Auburn takes on Florida. Duke will play Houston in San Antonio. Do you have thoughts on the tournament? I've heard some people say it was a boring tournament because there was no upsets or very few upsets.
Well, it definitely was definitely different. And betting the underdog would have lost you every bit of your money. I just think there's no longer any surprises. I think that's kind of maybe the analytics and the data is so accurate now. All you got to do is follow it because, we're talking about how bad. I mean, we thought the ACC was better, than it was portrayed to be. That clearly wasn't the case. The ACC teams were out in the first weekend or first game.
Well, they've got one team in the Final Four though,
and everybody knew that Duke was different, right? They won the ACC tournament championship down 2 players, right, and one of them going to be the number 1 or number 2 pick. And so I think it's still, man, Duke. Flag doesn't even have to play great for them to be really good. They've got 5 or 6 pros. You know, they dominated Alabama. I mean, if Flag has a good game, they win by 30. If Flag has a good game, he had an okay game and they won by 20.
He was just okay.
And so I would say it's going to be really, really interesting now, though, because this is the creme de la creme. Florida has looked really good. Houston don't play as good a conference, but anytime they have kind of a big name matchup meeting, they've answered the bell. And then Auburn, right? Bruce Pearl has done his thing for a long time, and it's doing it there again. And he's a good X's and O's guy. And I think it's almost like football. I think you kind of look at a couple of things. You look at best defense, or first of all, you look at head coach. You look at best defense, then best player. And if you use those analogies, Duke has got a really good chance, even though, you know, their head coach isn't necessarily proven at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So either way, the SEC will have a team in the finals. Just based on that matchup, and then Duke played Auburn earlier in the year, back in December. Duke beat Auburn by 6. So if that gets to be a final matchup, that would be kind of a rematch of that one. And then Florida actually beat Auburn earlier in the year as well, 90-81, when they were ranked 3rd and 4th in the nation. So
yeah, both of them really good. The SEC, the money has brought not only football to pinnacle, it's their basketball is at a ridiculous level, and their baseball for that matter. I watched a lot of college baseball.
Yeah, a lot of SEC baseball. And Brian, so it's Monday, and we've been talking basketball, college basketball. We've been talking big league baseball. Monday is time for our weekly segment, Brian.
Athlete you should know. And you got a good one. You sent something to me. I read about 2 syllables or 2 sentences, and I was like, dude, I think I've heard of this guy before. Then I read some more, and I was like, no, I haven't heard of this guy before. I should have. So let's hear him out, Paulie.
So the athlete you should know this week is a fella named Dick Groat. So this pays, like I said, pays homage to Duke basketball, who's in the Final Four, as well as Major League Baseball. So Dick was raised in Swissvale, Pennsylvania, was the youngest of 5 kids. He played baseball, basketball, and volleyball in high school. So he earned a scholarship to play both basketball and baseball at Duke University. He was a standout in both sports, and in basketball was actually a 2-time All-American. And in the 1951 and 1952 season, was the Southern Conference Player of the Year, as well as the United Press International Player of the Year. So the Southern Conference was like the predecessor to the ACC. And on May 1st, 1952, Groat had his basketball number retired at Duke. So he was number 10, and it actually still hangs in the rafters at Cameron Indoor Stadium. He was the first ever player at Duke to have his jersey retired. And there have since been 13 jerseys retired by the men's program, the likes of Grant Hill and Bobby Hurley and Christian Laettner, some really amazing players. So Dick Groat was the first of all those. Groat also excelled in baseball, where he helped lead the Duke Blue Devils to their first College World Series appearance in 1952. So Major League Baseball didn't have a draft at the time, but Branch Rickey was the GM of the Pirates. The same Branch Rickey who helped break the color barrier with the Dodgers and Jackie Robinson. Rickey offered Groat around $40,000 to sign. So Groat did not sign initially because he wanted to honor his scholarship. So he ended up signing in June of 52. And without a day in the minor leagues, Groat was playing shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Wow.
So clearly a stud. Later on that year, Groat was drafted 3rd overall in the NBA draft by the Fort Wayne Pistons. So Fort Wayne eventually became the Detroit Pistons in 1957, and they've resided in the Motor City ever since. So Groat also played basketball that year in the NBA. So his rookie season in Fort Wayne was going really well. He was averaging 11.9 points a game, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.7 assists per game. And so those numbers in the NBA was a lot lower scoring then, so those numbers are probably equate out a little higher to today's
He's
game.
playing in both professional leagues, though. I mean, it's just
Absolutely. But here's a crazy part of the story, Brian. So in February of '53, Grote said, rather than get drafted, I'm just going to enlist in the U.S. Army, right? Because the Korean War was going on. So Grote lost 2 years of baseball time and basketball time to military service. So he was in the Korean War. But this is interesting as well. During his military stint, he was at Fort Belvoir, which is up in Virginia. He led the Worldwide Army Championship in baseball and basketball. So he led the Fort Belvoir baseball and basketball teams to the Army World Championship. They were doing it for morale and all that sort of thing. It was the first time a single base had achieved that feat in the same year. So for the Army team, he hit 362 in baseball and averaged 35 points a game in basketball. So he comes back from the war. Branch Rickey basically says, "Grow, no more NBA. You're doing this." So he came back to a pretty bad Pirates team. And Brian, you're gonna like this. He was a natural leader. So Joe Brown was the Pirates general manager when he came back for the final 7 seasons. And in 1961, there was a story written about him. And Brown describes Grote like this. He says he sets an example for the rest of the team. If he goes 5 for 5 and the team loses, he's unhappy. If he goes 0 for 5 and the team wins, he's happy. He's a constant reminder to other players that a fellow can make himself a star without having all the tools. So just a true, hey, this is who this guy is, right? Grote eventually helped lead the Pirates to the 60 World Series. That was the one where the Pirates beat the Yankees and Bill Mazeroski hit the famous walk-off home run in Game 7 in the 9th inning. And then later in his career, Grote was traded to the Cardinals, spent some time with the Phillies and Giants for the last couple of years. So he was a multi-time All-Star. And then here's another thing I want to after we get done, want to talk to you about. He won the NL MVP in 1960, and he was one of 13 people ever to play both in the NBA and Major League Baseball. And then after baseball, from 1979 to 1980, that season, to the 2018-19 season, Grote spent 40 seasons as the color analyst for Pitt Panthers men's basketball. So, I mean, and then he passed away a couple years ago.
Well, it's incredible. I didn't even know, and this shows my ignorance. I didn't know there was anybody. The seasons cross over so much now. I didn't know there had been anyone who had been able to play NBA.
Well, it was pretty clean. The World Series back then ended in early October.
True.
Yeah, so it was pretty clean. And
but you think about, and I'm sure the NBA ended sooner too. But man, it was just what an athlete. And his mentors, not all the tools, still be a star. Some pretty special tools to be able to do it. I mean, clearly not step a day in the minor league ball and play a short shot for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know we're 1950s, but that's still pretty special.
Yeah,
that's still pretty special.
So he won the MVP in 60, right? So let me tell you, this is interesting. So the AL MVP that year was Roger Maris. This is in 60, so this is the year before he hit 61. So Maris, Mickey Mantle was second that year. Brooks Robinson was third. Some big names that we all know. In the NL that year, Dick Grote, our guy, won it. Don Hoke, also a Pittsburgh Pirate, finished second. A guy named Willie Mays finished third, and Ernie Banks finished fourth. But listen to Dick Grote's numbers that year. Batted .325, led the National League in hitting. Pretty good, right? That's a big deal. 2 home runs, 50 RBIs, 186 hits, 85 runs scored. Got 16 first place votes of 22 possible first place votes.
What was he doing?
Clearly he was him. I don't know, dude. Don Hoke, who finished second, batted .282 with 16 home runs and 79 RBIs. Willie Mays batted .319, 29 home runs, 103 RBIs. Ernie Banks batted .271 with 41 home runs and 117 RBIs. A guy named Hank Aaron finished 11th. He only batted .292 with 126 RBIs and 40 home runs. I don't know. I'm going to call our boy Ben Orlando. And
that's
say, hey,
what
Ben,
I was thinking too, man. I feel like there's something missing there. There's
let's
some
dive
stats
into
that's
this.
wrong because to me, I know you play a pretty important position, but if you're not pitching as well, those numbers, hey, they're respectable, but they're not MVP.
I mean, 2 home runs and 50 RBIs? That's crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm definitely I'm calling Ben tomorrow. I'm like, hey man, let's dive into this one. I want to learn more about this. So,
dude, that's incredible. Well, still clearly a very, very good player.
Oh,
still a really great story. Hey, when's off the top of your head, you may know just from researching this, when's the last time an NBA and MLB player have been able to coexist or be one and the same?
The last, I don't know if this last, Danny Ainge did it in the early '80s. Danny Ainge played for the Blue Jays and then played for the Boston Celtics, and then as the GM for the Celtics. That might be the last one, and that was early '80s.
No, that's good. That's good. And I knew that he played, but I had forgotten. So that's yeah. Which I imagine at that point is when the seasons on both ends started getting longer and would make it almost nearly impossible. Because you have all season workout, you're doing different things, especially in basketball, that would make it nearly impossible.
Yeah. There's so much crossover now, and
Heck, Polly, there's crossover in freaking high school. It's hard for high school players to be multiple sport athletes, much less at the highest level the way those guys are doing it. And I don't feel like high school makes it as conducive as they should, having workouts when other seasons are in season, and almost penalizing you when you don't attend. And so I'm not a huge fan of that, but what a great story and a great athlete of the week that we should know.
Yep. So we're paying homage to the NCAA Final Four, the Duke Blue Devils, and Major League Baseball. So,
and Duke did take 2 out of 3 from the Wolfpack this weekend.
Good weekend for good weekend for the Blue Devils. Not so good for the Pack.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, you know what? That's all we got for you today. We hope you've enjoyed it. Go out and make it an amazing week.
Out, go Pack. Still.